Thanks for joining us. What you're about to watch is an incredible deep dive from me and Josh Williams, of course. And this is how to unlock the best of Florian Wirtz. This is taken from this week's full deep dive episode, only available on redmenplus.com, where if you sign up as a captain or a legend, you can get everything we do completely ad-free, including the full deep dive every single week. Anyway, enough from me. Enjoy the show. We're going to talk a little bit about Florian Wirtz now anyway, because I found this a really interesting game for Florian again. I'll be honest, I think it's been over-egged, his poor performances so far this season. I don't think he's hit the heights that we will have wanted from Florian Wirtz in that first few games as a Liverpool player. But I do think you can see his touch, his vision, his willingness to run. I think you can see that we've got a player, but he's not gelled just yet. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, this was the game I was intrigued to see him play, because I think if you look at what he was at Leverkusen, he was a player who got tons of touches, lots of the ball, predominantly high up and in central areas. And I remember saying on a deep dive when we were toying with, where'd you play him? I remember saying it kind of doesn't matter as long as you get him on the ball a lot, high up in the final third, in central locations. I wasn't so keen on the whole left side of thing. And in this game presented a bit of a platform for that to happen. I didn't expect Burnley to be quite as defensive as they were. Mm-hmm. I thought they'd come out a little bit more, so it made it a little bit trickier. And I think we saw flashes of what Wirtz offers in these kind of dynamics. I think he has this way about him where he will just do something that you don't expect. Mm-hmm. Like one thing that frustrated a lot of people with Gakpo in this game was Gakpo would get the ball and you kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And he's good at what he does, but sometimes when you're facing a block like this that's so disciplined and so well-oiled, it's about just like, make a different choice, lad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think Wirtz is very good at being conscious in the moment and thinking, I need to make a different choice here. There was one where he has the ball like roughly here, and he looks like he's going to just circulate it, but he reverses on the ball and kind of feeds Ekitike here. Don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like an unconventional thing to do.
Is that the one where Ekitike shoots wide?
Yeah. No, Ekitike shoots, but I think it gets blocked. There was one where Wirtz shoots wide. Where he's dribbled. That's another example of him being a bit of an eccentric in the box. But that's the kind of creation, if you want, that you need when you're coming up against stubborn blocks like that. The ability to think outside the box and do something different. Again, we saw flashes of that, but still yet to get that goal or assist, and I think that's why maybe you could say he's getting criticised.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I'm going to go to the next image now, and again, this showcases a little bit of Liverpool's build-up. You can see Gravenberch and Kerkez, as we mentioned on the full show about how Liverpool are building up slightly differently this season. You can see Florian Wirtz in that sort of right half space, as it were, very number 10 position. What I think should happen here, by the way, is, and Gravenberch's body position says no, is I think that ball should be fizzed into Florian Wirtz. And I think when everyone's more comfortable with him, perhaps it is, because I think he's got a really easy ball around the corner to Ekitike there, who's come away from the back five to find space.
I think, just quickly, I think over the course of the season so far, we've probably got, I could probably count at least 20 instances in which you could say, fire the ball into Wirtz's feet now. And we haven't done it. There's been times where we have done it, but you buy him because he's so good at receiving and knowing what comes next in them situations. And maybe Liverpool have been a little bit risk averse in those situations. Maybe a bit conscious that he's quite slight and you're feeding the ball into a really confined space full of giants. But that's ultimately what he's really good at. So we could probably do it more, and hopefully we will do it more as the season goes on.
And then I think that, you know, if we go on to the next picture there for us, please show again. We've got that build-up play, and you can see Wirtz in the classic sort of number 10 position. What I love about when you watch Wirtz is, and I think it feeds into what you just said, he runs behind the other players. And he gets himself into positions where, you know, he can be fed. He can see that ball going out to Konate, and he's making his way over to that big space on the right-hand side near Mo Salah. And I think that's the type of thing that you're talking about. You say risk averse. I was thinking the word safe. It obviously just means exactly the same thing, where I think Liverpool need to start feeding him in those situations. But what I find really interesting is, you know, for me, it was him and McAllister, wasn't it? As a bit of a two. If nothing else, and you know, we'll bring the other lads in and everything else, and this is how Liverpool was sort of building up. I think Szoboszlai was a little bit further ahead of play, and we talked about that sort of diamond trellis between Kerkez, Van Dijk, Gravenberch, Ibu Konate. Wirtz is here and McAllister is here. I can't get over, and I don't know whether it's just me, that I still think this isn't the best position for him. I still think this is the best position for Florian Wirtz.
I completely agree. Again, going back to the deep dives that we did on Wirtz, I remember saying he's got a bit of a left-sided bias. He is right-footed. He, when he's carrying the ball, pushes the ball forward with the outside of his right foot, which gives you a bit of a diagonal perspective on the field. That's just a bit of a problem if you're playing on the right. And I am not a professional footballer, but I'm speaking from my own experience, because I play similarly.
Oh, Josh Williams!
No. That's not me saying.
Similarly?
That's not me saying that I'm anywhere near this. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying as in, like, the right foot pushing it forward with the outside of my right foot.
You push it further right?
Yeah, but if you put me there, I play in the middle of the park. If you put me there, it's a completely different game. It just is. The angles are so different. And I always use Naby Keita as another example of a player who would look great here, but not so good here. And I think it's that angles thing. So I think if you're gonna play Wirtz in them kind of spaces, he will look better on this side than that side. I think that's just always going to be the case. But because Liverpool are only playing with 110 usually, and it's more of a double pivot, we're ultimately going to see him over here and over here. But because he has that bias, maybe we'll see him over here a bit more. Maybe Salah can look a bit isolated at times. And I think a potential little problem is the two strikers we've bought in Ekitike and Isak both favour the left channel. So suddenly you have a little bit of a skew where everyone wants to be over here. Salah ends up on his own over there, probably with Frimpong. It can work at times, by the way. It can look good at times and that. But if you're thinking of getting the most out of Wirtz, I picture him roughly there. Mm-hmm. And if you think of getting the most out of Isak, I picture him about there.
And Gakpo.
Gakpo, yeah.
About there.
About there.
So it should free up place for Mo.
Yeah. So I'm very thankful that we've got Mo Salah, to be honest. But yeah, that's one to watch, I think. Yeah,
and I think what's really interesting for me is obviously these guys are allowed to do that. They're allowed to go in beyond. And I think Wirtz is very good at it. And again, I think there's opportunities where we've missed the boat on passing to Florian Wirtz in those situations. And when I say I think he's good, he's better here, I do. But when he picks the ball up here, because of the way that he dribbles, like you've mentioned, he ends up here anyway. It's not a problem. I just think this is a worse starting point for him. I'm going to bring up a graphic next, actually, and sort of showcase his shot map from last season. So this is the 24-25 season for Florian Wirtz. Now, let's just focus on the goals. I think you can see all of them are sort of skewed to the left anyway. Still gets his shots on the right, don't get me wrong. But specifically, look where the goals come from. There's one over to the right, and every other goal is over to that left-hand side. Now, this is a guy who had free rein to go wherever he wanted for Leverkusen, but you see where he feels, I think, most comfortable shooting from. And if we just move on, this is terrible, apologies, because it's too small a sample size. But those two shots in line with the 6-yard box above the L in Florian and the O in Florian, they were both this game in the second half when he moved to the left.
Well, I was going to say that the two instances I talked about before, the one where he kind of does something different and reverses it and feeds the ball to Ekatike, and the one where he goes on a bit of a mazy run and then shoots and it goes wide.
The two bits where he looks his best.
Exactly. They both stem from the same spot on the pitch, both to the left of centre, edge of the box vibe. And if you picture him doing those exact things on the right, you can't really. It doesn't really. It doesn't look as comfortable. It doesn't look as seamless on the right side. So there's definitely something in that. But because of the left-sided bias the two strikers have, as I've said, I'm not sure how you navigate that one. It's a bit tricky without. You don't want everyone standing in the same spaces, like.
No, you don't. But I think second half, Liverpool move Szoboszlai into the centre of the park. They bring Conor Bradley on, don't they? They got Robbo playing in at left back. And if I just show you this first one now, this is very early into the second half. The midfield setup now is Gravenberch, Szoboszlai on that right hand side, and Wirtz in acres of fucking space on the left.
Yeah.
You know, very similar to how we were playing and how we were setting up in the first half, but Wirtz shifted to the left rather than the right hand side because Szoboszlai, I think, is better on the right than the left hand side. And I think, for me, he just looked a much better proposition over there. And when we move on to the second image in this sort of one, again, you can see him sort of dropping deep. He's got a man on him, but you can see the ball going out to Robbo. He's available. Gakpo, he's asking questions of them. And I think for me, this was his best 45 minutes when he moved to that left-hand side. I just think he looked a lot better. If we move on to the next image now, again, this is the one you're talking about, the mazy run where he shoots just wide.
Yeah.
You're not telling me he's going to drive into the box there and have a shot from where the centre-back is. But he does. This is I think where he feels most comfortable. But that's not to say that he doesn't drive across the box at times as well and bring Mo Salah into play.
But see the way he's entering. If you go back to that bit just then, see the way he's entering the picture. He's entering the box, attacking his man, like from the left diagonally towards the box, towards the goal, towards the man. If you try and do the exact same thing from the other side, and you're right-footed, it just doesn't work in the same way. The ball ends up taking you, and your feet end up taking you towards the byline, as opposed to towards the pen spot. So it is a completely different dynamic that you're working with. And to be honest, if you look at his assist map and his key pass map over the course of the past few seasons, he does create from anywhere, to be fair to him. And he's not. I remember saying this kid's not really limited by the tactical environment that's around him too much. At least he's I remember calling him a polymath, and that's because he's so flexible and so adaptable. But I'm just saying, if you want to maximise what he's good at and get the most out of him, and you could argue after 4 games in, you want to do that now. Field him a little bit more to the left, and if you can do that, I wouldn't be surprised if he just suddenly starts looking a bit better, especially with two more potential blocks coming up in Atletico Madrid and Everton.
And that's it. And we'll quickly just fly through the next 2 graphics then, Joe. Obviously, this is his key passes for the game. And you can see there, they all came from pretty much the left-hand side.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And again, if we focus on the next one, his shots from the game, obviously 1 very central, but 2 of them from that left-hand side. And again, it comes back to that right footer feeling slightly more comfortable on that sort of left-hand side, taking the shot. So all this, I think, fascinating stuff, and it's great to talk about it, but I can't help but think Florian Wirtz basically came out, was presented something by Arne Slot, and wanted to be a part of it because it showcased how he'd go to the next level as a footballer, how probably Liverpool build a team through Florian Wirtz like Leverkusen, different to Bayern Munich in that regard. Was this the plan? What we're seeing so far? Do you think this is what Florian Wirtz signed up for?
I think for the most part, yes. I am not sure that Liverpool went into this summer. I've said this before. I don't know if they genuinely thought we'll land Isak and Wirtz. I think they're maybe a bit surprised that they've got both.
I was.
But, you know, I think when both genuinely want to come and you've got the money, I think they've just been like, sound, do it. And Ekatike, you could argue as well. But I do think the plan will have been, I think if you're on the slot and you're painting a picture for Florian Wirtz, who's at Leverkusen, and you want him to come to your club, the picture that I kind of would have painted tactically is, you know, we have a team of runners in behind. We've got Gakpo here, Diaz at the time as well, Salah here. We know what Salah's like. We're trying to get Alexander Isak. We've got Darwin Núñez, Kerkez, Frimpong, and we want you as like almost an advanced pivot to just find these players. They're running and beyond and taking players with them. That will create space for you in the 10. And we know that you're great at receiving the ball in tiny spaces. We're going to use you like that. That's the picture I would have painted for Wirtz. And I think we are doing that. But the sides he's faced so far have been a nightmare. Because Bournemouth are so intense.
Yeah.
Newcastle's midfield department is horrible. Arsenal are a nightmare to play against. Gang of giants and so defensive. And then Burnley, which is the game you expect. Scott Parker comes with the most disciplined 5-4-1 I've ever seen. And we have 81% of the ball, which is a good thing. But the space in between the lines weren't there. So you don't want to have to keep making excuses for them. People will call it excuses. I would rather call it, you know, circumstances or whatever, you know, mitigating factors and stuff. I was thinking about it, like I was thinking, why is he getting criticised? And I think that the reason the player gets criticised is what you've bought is not what you thought you were buying, if you get what I mean. Is the anything that we've bought that we saw at Leverkusen and we're like, well, where's that then? You know, why aren't you doing that? I think the only thing that's lacking really is the goals and assists.
Output, yeah.
Yeah, the actual output. He gets double figures goals and assists every season in the Bundesliga. He hasn't got either a goal or an assist in the Premier League yet. Once they will come, the noise will stop, because everything else, the link in the play, the connecting in tight spaces, a fair amount of touches, I think we could do with playing him a little bit higher up the pitch and stuff like that. But for the most part, this is Florian Wirtz, what we've seen so far. He's a needle player. I was like a very Mason Mount, to be honest, but just more goals and assists. So it's a bit simplistic to say that's what he needs, but probably.
I think personally, for me, I think you're right, but I do think we need to. I think I'd like to see a bit more Szoboszlai with him. If not long term, short term, to give him some confidence.
Yeah.
To give him that like understanding of, you know, I think you're better there. You're getting used to the Premier League. You're getting used to these grocks that you're coming up against. You're getting used to the pace of it. Let's not try and get used to a new position on the field as well, almost. So I think for me to unlock the best of Florian Wirtz quickly, it is to sort of play Dominik Szoboszlai aside him, because obviously he's got his legs anyway. You know, that engine is unbelievable. Puts Florian Wirtz in a better position, and then following that, then Josh, Alexander Isak is going to make things a whole lot easier for Wirtz as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you're feeding Isak, he's going to be putting them away, so he'll be putting up your assist count fairly easily. The only worry I've got about what you've just said, by the way, is I have a soft spot for Alexis McAllister, and I can't help thinking, where does he fit in? To be fair, against Burnley, I don't think he was very good, and he hasn't looked the best lately, to be honest.
He's had that fitness thing.
Still carrying that knock, yeah, whatever it was. But this is the question that we've had all summer. You know, Champions League final tomorrow. Who on earth is in your best team? You just paid potentially 116 million for Florian Wirtz. He's playing. So
I think it's a good problem, because I truly believe that you've got 4 undroppable midfielders.
Yeah, you have.
Because Gravenberg's undroppable, McAllister's undroppable, Szoboszlai's undroppable, and Florian Wirtz is undroppable for 3 spots.
Yeah.
It's a madness.
I do kind of hope that it doesn't result in Wirtz playing over here. That will annoy me. Gakpo's getting minutes over there. Gakpo's back up as Rio, who might not get full faith from slot in certain games. So if it results in Florian Wirtz playing as a left winger, I don't think he'll be too happy with that, and I won't be either. So hopefully not. But I can see it happening in the odd game, just as a means of getting them all on the pitch, because as you say, they are undroppable.
That was a clip from the deep dive. To check out the whole show, head to redmenplus.com or click the link in the description.